Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426 and today we have an interesting review today. So today we have the review of the 52Toys Infinitybox lineup, the Cheetah and Gazelle. So these are two products as well, and these are one of those combiner products as well, which is why you're going to need at least, you're going to need both of them to do something like to do a combination here. So usually these would be called megabox, but at some point they started using the term Infinitybox. So I'm guessing that they had some, I don't know, maybe copyright issues or they wanted to change the name as well. So yeah, so I'm hoping they keep the Infinitybox name as well, because if they make another one, I think that's going to make even more confusing as well. So let's see what we got. So keep in mind these are two products. So I have reviewed some combiners of 52Toys product before, like Landbreaker, Deep One, Icarus, or something like that. However, those came in a single box. They were a set as well. However, at some point 52Toys they stopped doing the whole box combination and they started releasing these separately. My guess is because the products here are getting maybe bigger and longer, so they had to do this separately. Or another rumor I heard is like the jet combiner, Icarus for example, they had some issues with the big box, which is why maybe they had to split it up to reduce the risk of box damage or product damage as well. All right, so I actually did receive these items some time ago. However, because these are one of those products that requires the other set to make it work, so which is why I was struggling on how to do this review as well. And also I bought these, I believe I bought them separately as well because they released on separate times, but also I was able to get their upgrade part. Yes, this thing actually has an official upgrade part as well, so these will work on the vehicles, but also on the combiner form, which is right here. This guy will also get some upgrades on like outer armor and also in terms of weapons as well. So this review might go a little bit long, but here is my plan. So I'm going to basically unbox these guys, start at the cube form, which shouldn't take too much time to show on the cube form, and then I'll show you guys their vehicle forms because they transform into a F1 car and somewhat a racer motorcycle kind of thing. And then I'll slap on the and then I'll show you guys with the upgraded parts form, and then after that I'll show you guys the combined form as well, and then the combined form with the upgrade parts as well. Now, I'm not sure how much articulation these guys will show, but if I can, I'll show you guys the articulation as well. Alright, so before I open the box, let me just get rid of one box and show you guys the back section, because like any combiners, they usually tend to have like two forms in terms of combining form, but usually it's only one that they try to focus on. So here is the main one that was mostly shown on all the promo pictures, where is Hermes. So this is going to be like the main guy. So if you combine, I believe Cheetah goes on top and then Gazelle goes on the bottom, and that makes Hermes. And if you swap the other two, it becomes Mercury. However, according to a friend of mine, this form is a little bit of a stretch and doesn't really look that great. So let's see what we got. Now here is another form, but these are usually like free forms, or sometimes they would add another form or another combination on the manual. However, it really depends on how you want to do it. So I'm not going to be showing these extra combination forms as well. Alright, so I'll be right back with these guys unboxed in their cube forms, and let's see what we got. Okay, I'm back. So I was able to transform in their, if you open the boxes, they're actually in their vehicle forms, which is pretty nice. However, now transforming these into their cube forms were not too pleasant. So at least Cheetah was bearable, but Gazelle was a whole mess. So I'm sorry to regret making this review, but oh well. Actually, yeah. So there's a few things that I guess I should mention or like confess. So number one, the transformation on this guy is not going to be easy. It's not something you can just memorize and do as well. Same goes for Cheetah. But of course, if you do this multiple times, I assume you should be able to get like the overall feel for it. Alright, so before we go on to the review, let's talk about what you get out of the box. So number one, obviously, for each Gazelle and Cheetah, you get your products, and number two, for these, you each get a pilot figurine. Now, Gazelle comes with the pilot figurine that has like a T, has a T visor on it, while Cheetah comes with the H visor on it. So yeah, but they're the same figures, but with different visor styles, I guess. And then they each come with their own box chargers. That's pretty neat, and as well, and they still have the overall the gimmick where you can connect them up and down or side to side. And these are the new upgraded versions or updated versions where they have all these ports. So if you want to slap on a few stuff on these box chargers, you can totally do so as well. Alright, and then here we have a few other stuff. So for Cheetah, it comes with these two extra parts. These are, I assume, based on the manual, are to make the combination form a little bit more stable. So once you're done combining them, they tell you to put these on the side on the waist section. So I'm assuming this is going to be locking into places more well, so you have more stability. And then for Cheetah, it also came with this. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. I had no trouble transforming him, so my guess is it's not exactly a issue on the manual. It's just that maybe they realized later, so people are struggling how to get the head out or move the head out as well. So oh well. Alright, so for those who are not too familiar with the line of products, they would sometimes come with these products or these extra parts. Now these are extra customization parts, so these would be extra joints that you can slap onto any port that you want, and if you want to combine with other products as well. And this T-shaped thing is also a tool, so basically sometimes when you put these on, they can get stuck in there extremely too much, so like they're too tight in there. So this is the tool that you would use to pull it out. So each Cheetah and Gazelle comes with their own set, so no need to worry about that. And each comes with their own catalog, so no big deal as usual, and their own manual. So the manual will show from vehicle to box form, box to vehicle form, and then the combination forms as well. All right. So that's pretty much it for the components. So let's see what we got. So once again, you can see the box isn't exactly complete. I mean, this is as far as I can go. I think this is supposed to be the complete version. However, if it's complete and with no issues, which that means that it should go into the box charger with no issue. But at the moment, it's going in very tightly. I have to push it in, and that means that's not supposed to be like that. So there's something I may have messed up, or something's wrong with my transformation. Same goes for Cheetah. At least this guy was bearable, but once again, it seems like I have not perfect the transformation here because it still has a little bit of a tight fit. So maybe a little bit more fiddling around will fix that as well. Alright, so once again, there's not much to show in these cube forms as well, but just want to point out every color or like livery you kind of see here are not stickers or decals. They're all, I mean, they're not stickers that I applied. They all come in painted like this or already pre-applied like this as well. So you don't need to worry about any stickers, decals, or water slides as well. They all come pre-applied as well, so no need to worry. Alright, so I'll be right back and I'll be back with their vehicle forms. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the cube forms transformed into their each vehicle form. So we have Gazelle and Cheetah going on here as well. So transforming them, once again, not exactly as pleasant. At least it was much more better than compared to transforming these into cube forms, because overall the transformation on the process definitely felt a little bit too messy for my taste. But let's see what we got. So let's look at Cheetah. I mean Gazelle first. So here we have Gazelle. So as far as I understood this is supposed to be a motorcycle type vehicle, a gigantic motorcycle vehicle format considering the size of the pilot. So we have 3 wheels here. We have one giant wheel on the back that also rolls, and then 2 smaller ones that are on the front here. So we have a 3-wheel motorcycle thing going on here as well. So once again, the wheels do roll, so you can roll it on the ground if you want to do so. And once again, all these designs, decals have already been applied, so pre-applied, so you don't need to worry about applying them for yourselves. And here we have the pilot figurine here. So here is in its motorcycle form. I think that's the way how you're supposed to do it. So in this one, you're covering the clear cockpit glass on top of it, so you don't actually lock this into place. But if you don't really care for the pilot figurines, and if you want this to be like an automated machine, you can always pull the cockpit a little bit to the back section and then lock it into place, because there is a tab on the clear piece and then a hole there so that you can lock it into place. This part does move a little bit up and down, but that's mostly for the transformation here and there as well. So once again, it's really up to your preference. And then the figurine is pretty much the one we saw in previous ones, like in Huracan or Oasis. Basic articulation figurine as well, so to do some basic cockpit sitting poses as well. So no big deal there. So So yeah, once again, transformation was definitely a little bit tricky because once again, you do want to make sure that everything is lined up in place. But in this case, this guy design is overall like not exactly curvy, but they're all in certain angles. So yeah, you would think that this would be aligned with this section, but no, it's actually not really that case in order for the wheels to work. So a little bit tricky, but it works. Although this vehicle format may be a little bit too stretched to some people. Alright, now for a little bit more convincing, here we have Cheetah. It's supposed to be, as far as I can tell, is a F1 style racing car design here and there, which has 6 wheels, which isn't too surprising because there are, back in the past of F1, there were actually F1 cars that have actually 6 wheels. So yeah, so all the front wheels do roll. They are individually attached, so they will roll individually. And on the back we have these 2 gigantic wheels, which do show on the bottom, but on the side doesn't really show that much. But you can see on the top here as well. Alright, so actually looks pretty cool and convincing as well. I do like the way how it looks. A bit long, but still works. Transformation here, at least this one was a little bit more bearable compared to Gazelle. But once again, overall, you do need to be careful because of all the locking mechanisms and the ton of moving joints here and there. Now, so far, you can definitely see this doesn't really look like a combining mech, of course, until you see here on the cockpit section. You have a gigantic robotic head, even with the visor, with his eyes out here. So yeah, once again, you can put the pilot figurine in the cockpit section, but if you don't like that, you can always kind of like jam it in there if you want to do so. There is a way. Let me just get it here. So it is much easier to pull this out and then do this compared to was it in. So yeah, so there is a way that you can just lock this into place if I do this correctly. So yeah, I mean there is a way, but for some reason the neck joint isn't really cooperating with me at the moment. So yeah, so what you're supposed to do is that you're supposed to cover the eye sections here. Come on, it was working just fine previously, so yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. But yeah, if you want to cover up the cockpit section, you can always do this and do something like so. The joint is supposed to go inwards, but for some reason mine it's not going inwards. But yeah, you can definitely cover up if you want to do so. Alright, so we've seen the basics of the transformation here. So because these two are vehicles, there's not much to talk about in terms of articulation, but there's design wise, I think they did a really good job on design. So now we have a few things left to show, which is the upgrade parts. So the upgrade parts are actually in runners. So you can see there are a little bit of parts. So these will, in terms of these guys, they will give some upgrade performance parts, so like extra spoiler or like visual applications. But for the mech mode, they will actually become a weapon and then more cover up armor for here and there. Although I don't think you're supposed to be combining these two with the upgrade parts on, because obviously the manual doesn't. I don't think the manual actually covers that aspect as well. So if you do combine them, do them without the upgrade parts just to be safe. Anyway, so I think I'll be right back with the upgrade parts applied to the vehicles, and let's see what we got from there. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the upgraded parts attached to the vehicles, and surprisingly, the upgrade parts also included a Surge figure. I wasn't aware of this, but until apparently I dropped it and figured it out. So yeah, pretty cool. So once the vehicle upgrade parts are attached, now Cheetah. And I mean, unless you know what you're dealing with, it's really hard to tell what's been changed. But for now, what's been changed is number one, you have another extra front spoiler / bumper. I'm not sure what you call these, but yeah, you have these black parts that have been attached additionally to give a more traditional F1 style car as well. And then also on the back we have these new extra spoilers, so this would give more stability on the vehicle form as well, because it's now connecting the two ends, because back then this would be the only main connecting parts between these two other than these already connected areas. But with this extra spoiler, now it has much more stability as well. And for Gazelle actually goes through a lot of changes. Well, kind of. So number one, we have this big giant long piece thing on the middle, which also connects the two long legs here as well, so more stability. And then on the back here we actually get this part, which now acts like a seat. So an actual motorcycle seat with these extra new black parts you know, for more aesthetic reasons. And then there was these small wing parts that are now attached to the back. You have to detach them to attach to the back of the wheel. And we now actually have more motorcycle handle-ish things going on here. So now, back then, before the equipment, before the upgrade parts, this was a full-fledged, its own big gigantic motorcycle for the pilot figurine. But now this entire thing is a full motorcycle for a, according to the manual, is now for a 3.75 inch figure. So I believe 52Toys do sell these small figures as well, but now if you have any 3.75 inch figures, you can now work this out as its own motorcycle as well. So that is a very interesting change in terms of aspects going on here. And yeah, I actually really do like the extra new upgraded look going on here as well. Now, if you attach all the parts, you might have noticed this is the only leftover parts that is left. So, this is actually the rifle I was talking about. So, once again, if you want to combine these two, you have to detach all the upgrade parts first, because I don't think the manual does deal with that. And then you combine them, and then you attach all the upgrade parts as well. And then there's going to be leftover pieces, which I assume is going to be this long piece, and then this part that becomes the seat of the motorcycle. You attach those two to here, and becomes a long rifle there. All right, so we've seen the upgrade parts in vehicle form, so I'll be right back with the two combined forms without the upgrade parts. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the two combined. So this is the case of where Cheetah is on the top and Gazelle is on the bottom. And this form is apparently called Hermes. Now there is another form where you reverse the two and becomes Mercury, which I'll show later. But for now, this is the combined form without using any of the upgrade parts. Now if you have the upgrade parts, obviously there's going to be a few extra details slapped on here. And then obviously we'll have a specific, extra weapon holding. But for now, if you just bought the Cheetah and Gazelle without any of the upgrade parts, this is what you should be getting. Now, as you may see right away, right off the bat, obviously the proportions are not your, not the desirable or traditional way of seeing, like, the more modern mech toys or mech gunpla kits that you see these days. You can see the legs are very thin and has a very thin profile on the arms and legs, and they're a little bit chunky on the body as well. So kind of pretty much the same situation as Icarus as well. Icarus is also a megabox set where it comes with two jets, which you can combine into another mech called Icarus. So yeah, I've been trying to fiddle around with this thing, and once again, I think I had much more better time with Icarus compared to this one. Mostly for the fact that, number one, the transformation of these two things are very complicated. Number two, dealing with the legs were very, very tricky, because once again, kind of similar to Icarus, there is no ankle joint or ankle pivot joint to be more specific, which is why posing and also balancing this whole mech form is very tricky as well. And then also, like Icarus, the leg articulation is just way too complicated to make it look right. There's just a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of extra design here and there, to the point where the legs will just look awkward at all times. So let's see what we got for now. And you can see I'm barely holding him on balancing him, so I'll just make sure that he doesn't fall over by putting him on the wall. Alright, so let's see what we got. So obviously we've seen a lot of promo pictures, or if we see any promo pictures based on the combined form of Cheetah and Gazelle, this would be the one that's pop out more, because obviously it has a more standard look. Because the other form, which was called Mercury, it's not really, I don't think many people are going to be preferring that as well. But once again, in order to prefer this in general, you're going to need to master the transformation a lot. Alright, so now we have the head. The head we actually could see in Cheetah's cockpit form in the F1 car as well. So the head, I think they did a pretty good job in terms of design, because it actually looks like a mech head, while Icarus, on the other hand, was basically just a cockpit seat, that had a neck articulation joint. So I think they definitely improved on that aspect. So the head itself is on a ball joint, but you can see it's facing forward, so going down and up, no big deal. And then 360 twists as possible, and we do have the neck joints, but once again, these are more for the transformation car form as well, so no big deal going on here. Now you can see the body is connected by a single peg joint here. You can see there is a joint here, a really big one as well. So If I did this correctly, this is how it's supposed to look like, as far as I understood it. So yeah, so you do have a little bit side-to-side wiggle going on here, but it really depends on how these things are positioned, because depending on how you position them, they can block the way by colliding with the lower leg section here. So yeah, so you do have a little bit of side-to-side wiggle movement going on here, but that's mostly not from the joint. But you can see on the top section, the red section is moving separately, so that's what's usually causing the movement. And I may have hit the head a little bit too much. Okay, so we got that. All right, now let's get the arms. So you can see the arms, you basically opened up the whole section and basically just extended as much as possible until the point that we have these arms and this hand thing. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of this specific hand. It just doesn't look right because of the way how it's shaped and designed while the claws move, which I do appreciate. But yeah, I don't think it's not my biggest cup of tea, to be honest. I think I would prefer either not having hands or maybe just regular claw hands, because this just looks a little bit awkward to me. So they do have a little bit shorter articulation going on here. So you're supposed to like be able to extend this to have like a butterfly joint. But once again, this part is very stiff and I do not want to break it. But you can see there's definitely a little bit of movement going on here where there's this extension. So yeah, you're supposed to have that. Going up and down on the arm is also possible as well. You can see there's a squeak noise. And then there is another rotation here, mostly for the transformation, not really meant for the articulation itself. And then you can see here, obviously, we have a little bit more articulation here, rotation, as I mentioned before. And then this part can also rotate as well. And then you have a nice bend going on here as well. And then on the other side, we also have another bend section here. And yeah, there's just a ton of moving parts. So you just really need to study and understand what part moves and what part doesn't as well. And you can see the wheels here, hidden here. And once again, we have the hand. Well, it has some articulation, but this is more for the transformation. So yeah. All right, now let's look at the legs, the more annoying part here. So you can see the way how the legs work is basically the entire thing starts from this back here. So you can see it's going at an angle coming down here. So you can actually technically move this entire part as well. But once again, I don't think that matches the proportion. Hence, it has to be moving a little bit forward. But yeah, you have that. Then you have another joint here, which has another interesting movement. And another joint here that rotates as well. So you can see, because of the transformation overall complexity, there's like a lot of parts that can technically rotate, move, twist, and as well. But keep in mind, not just because it moves doesn't mean it's supposed to be part of the articulation of this mech here. It's just happens to be there because of the transformation is required for them. So we have another bend here, but which does not make any sense, to be honest, unless if you want to use this joint as like the pivot section, which will make it even more awkward as well. Because of this, you do have a bend which can go all the way as well, so you can pretty much rotate 360 as well. There's another bend here, and then here we have the feet. So the feet, you have this part that acting here, and then there's this part where you can open up, bring it down, and works like high heels. But keep in mind, there's no pivot joint on the feet, so they actually give you this extra wing section so that you get a little bit more inner balance. But once again, because this thing is on high heels and these wings barely touch the ground, balancing and making this guy stand properly is very, very tricky. Right before me filming this, it took me multiple tries to just get this standing on its own without any support. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So articulation, I'm going to say there's a lot of moving parts, but not all of them is really meant for this form. And to some people, this can feel a lot messy. Now, to be honest, even this design kind of looks messy for me, or at least for me. So once again, I actually really like the vehicle forms, but I'm not sure I would prefer this whole mech form, combined form as well. Now, the top section I think they can pass pretty well. Except for the hands. And then I think if any future releases they do something like this again, I would love to see more improvement on the legs, because the legs so far, even including Icarus, was just too complicated, too thin, and has really some issues standing on its own regarding balance. So I would love to see some kind of new style of legs, instead of just like stretching out, extending all parts as possible, and then making it look tall and long. Because I would rather have a more stability thing instead of these noodle legs. Now before we go back, here is the back section here. So there's like anything that's not using the mech form is just pretty much on the back section as well. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the combined form Mercury, Hermes. So before we go to the other reverse form, I'm gonna bring out, so I'll be right back with the upgrade parts applied to this guy, and let's see how much changes it brings in. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the upgrade parts attached to Hermes at the moment. So I can definitely say it's safe to say that most of the upgrade parts are just there. I mean, they just basically added in. So these upgrade parts are more important to the vehicles rather than the mech, because basically most of the upgrade parts are just slapped onto the back, on the legs, and some hidden gaps here and there. But other than that, the only thing that I would say that's major for the upgrade for the mech form would be the gun. So we get this extra nice long rifle, which at first seemed a little bit tricky to attach to the hand because of the way how the hands work. But luckily, basically the way how this works is there's a huge peg that can plug into the hand. And once you have that in, everything becomes way easier to do. All you need to do is just fiddle around with the fingers. So once again, most of the spoilers or wing parts of the cars goes onto the shoulder, back of the shoulder. So you have these two wings combined, and actually these are 3 parts, and then just slapped onto the back of the shoulder. Then we have this big spoiler from Cheetah, once again attached here, and then for Gazelle we have these black parts once again onto the back, and then we have the handles of the motorcycle just plugged in there, which isn't really that visible, and then the last red part is just slapped onto the leg section. So most of these upgrade parts doesn't really improve any of the articulation or stability. They're just extra armor parts at this point. So even if you didn't get the upgrade parts, you're not really missing out much. The only thing you're missing out would be, I guess, the rifle and then the vehicles that without the upgrade parts. But other than that, I wouldn't say it's really essential for the mech form. Alright, so there's only one thing left to show, and that is the reverse form of this, which becomes Mercury. Now, I would like to mention the upgrade parts. According to the manual, the upgrade parts cannot be applied, or isn't really applied to Mercury, so there won't be any upgrade parts involved on the last part. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the final part of the review. So here we have the reverse form called Mercury, and believe it or not, once you get the 2 forms, Gazelle and Cheetah, back to its vehicle mode, making this form is much easier than you think. And once again, surprisingly, despite how, unless I did something wrong and I followed, and if I actually did this correctly, this is supposed to be the combined form where Gazelle is on the top and Cheetah is on the bottom. Now, I was surprised how short the legs were, because they required to fold like in multiple ways, and then you get short legs, and then on the top very, very long and large. However, I do feel like this has a much more stable form, but once again, I feel like they were really trying to cram in some kind of combined form here as well. So I'm not gonna go over articulations too much, because obviously this form is not really shown as often, and then there's a lot of limitations here. So obviously, because of the way how the cockpit has been engineered, there's no side-to-side movements, just go up and down as well. Obviously, there's body movement because of the connection here. So this is pretty much Cheetah and Gazelle. Yeah, once again, arms or legs, they have a lot of moving parts here, but there's a lot of questions whether these are actually meant for the mech, or is it just happens to be coincidence where they're from like the transformation aspect going on here. Now, like the Hermes form, this also has some hands where very cleverly hidden claws where you can have these. Now, these hands, I don't think they're going to be holding anything at all. So, but yeah, I say they did a pretty good job hiding these claws, because I was not aware of these until I actually made this form going on here. So obviously, once again, the problem with the articulation here is obviously there's a rotating point here, there's another bending point here, there's another twisting point here and there. There's just a lot of moving parts here, so I don't think these would be, it's not really ideal to show articulation here. There's just a lot of moving parts and joints where it's not really meant for the mech, but just it happens to exist. Now, legs very short, but once again, it has the basic, bend going on here, forward and backward movement, but very stiff. So once again, I do suggest, if you're having a very hard time transforming these because of the stiff joints, most of these joints can be divided. Like, you can technically pull them out and they will reveal a peg. I do suggest you sand them down just a little bit to the point where you're feeling a little bit comfortable as well. And that is pretty much it. So for the review of Gazelle and Cheetah, keep in mind, in order to make these mech forms, you need to buy both 52 Toys Megabox, the Megabox or Infinity Box, called the Mercury, not Mercury, of Gazelle and Cheetah. They are sold separately, so there's, as far as I know, there is no box set of them yet. So keep in mind, if you want to have a mech form, you have to buy both Gazelle and Cheetah as well. Once you have both of them, the manual will definitely show you how to make the top section or bottom section for each one as well. And keep in mind, there is an upgrade part for them out there. However, those are mostly meant for the vehicle, so even if you fail to get one, you're not really missing out on much, so no need to worry about that aspect. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the review, and hopefully my review was helpful for those who are considering on getting these as well, whether you should get just Cheetah or Gazelle or both of them. So personally, I really love their vehicle forms. However, in terms of the combined form, I don't think I'll be making them too often, or I don't think I'll be going back to them at all. But once again, if you are interested, do give it a try. But keep in mind, the transformations are very complex. Not only just the combining aspect, but also from going to the box to the vehicle form, or vehicle to the box form. They're very complex because there's a lot of moving, folding parts as well. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff for me to review yet, so hopefully you enjoyed the review. This was the review of the 52 Toys Cheetah and Gazelle. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy, build, and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.